Hello.
Hi, Chris. How you doing?
All right. How are you?
I'm doing all right. It's a beautiful, beautiful January day out there.
I know. What's fabulous. Love seeing the snow.
I know. It really is nice. You gotta have some real winter, or you just will never know. There's something wrong with that picture.
Hey,
If you,
Bob.
hey there, and look, the agenda looks good. I really like that packet, that thing you put in the packet about enhanced energy plans is really good, Chris.
I
The
actually thought that you had put that in the planning commission packet, but then I couldn't find it, but it didn't look that hard.
Not
And
that
then I
one.
thought,
It really seems like there are a lot of resources for towns doing enhanced energy plans. I mean, it's a well-supported activity, clearly.
well, I gotta say, it's a good first read for towns considering it and sort of gives you a good overview of what lies ahead.
Yeah, yeah.
So
Good. Well, let's see. Who else do we got? Do you know Ernie's plans?
I don't know if Ernie, I didn't want to bother him. So
Mm-hmm.
we'll see if he comes on. I was going to email him, but I said no. If he felt up to it, he would.
Yeah.
All right. Well, what do you say? Should we just get going?
Sure. Oh, Ernie's here.
What?
Ernie just
Oh, there
showed.
he is. Oh, good.
I was happy to be
There
able
he
to.
is.
Hi, Ernie.
Hi.
I was happy to be able to use this subcommittee. I don't know if anyone was watching the select board meeting and managed to stick with it on through till 8:30 or 9, whenever they got to the handbook topic. Um, it took it the affordable housing subcommittee topic stretched out for quite a while. Um, but then when it got to the handbook topic, which was subcommittees and the process of appointing subcommittees and whether you had official members and who set up a member, that kind of a topic, just in draft form, and we'll have plenty of chance to comment on it. But that was the topic, and it was getting a bit, I was really wanting to respond. It was getting pretty over the top by certain members of the select board around, you know, the select board appoints all members of committees. They have to be members of official appointed, that they were using and this Marcia started it rolling from the affordable housing planning grant conversation to say, well, wait a minute, we've got a longstanding subcommittee with members like Jeff Lubell and Cree Moffitt and so forth who have never been appointed, or if it was ages ago. They're not members of the planning commission, and they are submitting a planning. So we have people unconnected with any official people in town submitting a planning grant for money. That was Marcia's worry. And so we had to backpedal into, well, wait a minute. The Affordable Housing Subcommittee is not the ones submitting the grant application. It's the Planning Commission rolling back in. But anyway, by the time I spoke and tried to put an overall opinion of how we could do it, this subcommittee was the perfect example, because it was a defined subcommittee with 3 official planning commission members, and then very open participation by regular, Rob, and that we've had 5 or 6 people that come, they speak, they're members of, they're effective members of the subcommittee, and we have a charter that has been approved by the planning commission. And so I was able to use it as an example to say, look, you don't have to tie yourself up in knot. I mean, at one point, the proposal was every subcommittee has to have a staff person on there to take the minutes and make sure the packet is dealt with and make sure open meeting law is followed and all this sort of stuff. And it's, it was like,
tying your hands.
Peter Orner got on and said, this really doesn't sound like it's encouraging public participation. So anyway,
Wow.
I would say thank you to this committee for being a good example that we could use and point at to say, encourage public participation using informal membership while rolling back into an official group when needed. So,
right, just sort of doing legwork stuff.
Yeah.
As a member of the public, I'd like to express my appreciation for your comments that evening.
Oh, thank you, Rob.
It was worth staying up for.
I was trying to stay calm. As I said to Jeff Lubell, who did the 45 minutes of the affordable housing defense, I said, well, Jeff, you had to stay calm because he was there in person. I was able to turn my camera off and scream at the computer every once in a while and then turn the camera back on. Which is a distinct advantage. But yeah, I tried to just, and then I asked Marcia what the time frame was, and she wants to get another draft back to the select board before they even put it out for comment to other groups. And Cheryl already chimed in when we talked to her that there were various things the listers had comments about, and so. But it's the beginning of a conversation. That's the one that Jeff asked to put on the agenda for the planning commission. So we'll talk about it officially in the whole group. But solar siting, go for it.
By the way, I just want you to know, with all the snow, my connection is very intermittent. So I'm sort of hearing some things and not. So I think we'll be getting some freezing up here.
Yeah, if need be, we could.
Anyway, well, Ernie, I'm glad you could join us.
So,
all right, do you want me to just go through, get the agenda going? So
I would move
do we have a motion to approve?
So moved.
Second.
Okay. And so
if you say yes, it's a given.
See, I can't, I'm missing out on a lot of what's being said now because I'm really getting intermittent stuff here.
Do you want to try turning off try turning off your video and see whether your bandwidth can do better with just audio.
Say that again. Oh, look,
your video is sucking up your bandwidth. So if audio is more important, then turn off your video and see if that helps with just audio. And you can just pop up every once in a while. If
let's keep talking.
All right.
So that's really interesting. So if you turn off the video.
If you have limited bandwidth, the audio is way easier than video. And
but it's good. Then I don't have to. I'm happy with that. I don't have to keep staring at myself the whole time. Not to mention the fact that
you can just hide self view. That's the other. That's the other strategy that stops one from making weird tics and so forth when you watch yourself. So
okay, so now I'm sorry that but in doing this I closed out the agenda, so I'm trying to figure out where I.
All right, well, public comments for items on the agenda. You got anything to talk about?
Yeah, okay.
It's not on the agenda. All right.
Nope.
Got over that. And then it's correspondence. I don't know if you
correspondence
wanted to we got that thing from Rosman Orford, but I think we can just roll it into public, public input when the time comes.
Yep, exactly.
And it was
All part of
interesting
the
that was
conversation.
precisely to the topic that we had covered before, which was essentially smaller than 15 kW ground mounted systems and their potential screening. Let's see. So anyway, it was pertinent. We talked about it and we learned that it can be screened. We can do things with that in the guidelines if we want to, as long as we don't preclude solar on a given site.
Right, but so basically what it did come down to is screening is the only thing that is sort of one of the avenues.
You can, whatever they call it, mitigation.
Right.
So the way it's worded, yeah, I'm just trying to, Linda Gray's having trouble signing on. The way it's worded, the municipality is empowered to, there she is, empowered to have screening of ground mount systems and other mitigation as long as it does not effectively preclude solar on a given site. So you can move it around and cover it up, but as long as you don't effectively make it impossible.
Yeah, can I ask a question? For two questions, actually. First of all, how can we let Chris know that we want to say something? Could she see the hand
Can you
raised?
see hands? Oh, I can see
I can
hands.
still see you guys. I
Oh,
still
okay,
see
okay,
everybody.
okay. All right.
Okay.
Okay, so my question is does screening and things can include or mitigation include doing things like suggesting people or making it easier for people somehow through our regulations or something to putting the panels on the roof, which is I mean, is that something we can suggest to people? I mean, we keep on talking about ground
Yeah.
mounted stuff, but
Yeah. Well, I think, and I've seen it mentioned in things about enhanced energy plans, where you can get pretty strong, up to and including, building codes that say, thou
That-
shalt make your roof maybe point the right way, or your roof needs to be
That was
framed
exactly
strong
where I
enough
was
to hold up
kind of going with
panels,
that.
or so yes, you can do that. We actually have had public comment asking for that or suggesting that.
Right, and that would be as we go into our writing the regulations, it's exactly something I would like to encourage. I mean,
Yeah.
you can't do it everywhere and all that sort of stuff, and I understand that, but we have to, I mean, if we write our regulations carefully, people can know just from how that whether they're going, but we also have to get them to also think in terms of it should be part of their design to start with, and then if it's impossible to do, not
Yeah. Well, and I think
impossible,
the
impossible is
way,
overstating it, but you know what I mean.
yeah, well, and I think the several parts, because if we're talking about enhanced energy plan, then that's the same thing as when we talk about the plan in general. The plan will say something like maximize the use of all available rooftops and implement zoning regulations and building codes to encourage rooftop solar. And then you would roll that into the implementation of the plan. So it's that same stepwise thing, kind of cascading thing that we do with plan to bylaws. So, but clearly the rooftop is so easy. I mean, I just got an hour ago, I just got a net metering PUC notice for putting another 4.5 kilowatts of solar on the dormer roof. And it's an absolute rubber stamp if it's on the roof. And so it's a very different ticket. So things like, or a structure, you know, we could say
Some
preferred,
structure, a structure on the
like
property.
you could, but you can put one just for solar. Like you could put a canopy over the Huntley Meadow parking lot or
Yes,
the Montshire Museum parking
yes,
lot.
I,
And that would be a preferred site, falling off a log,
Yep.
you know, rooftop thing.
But I'm
And
thinking
that's,
also in terms of housing too, as well, encouraging homeowners to do it as well. Because I think you know, sometimes that's where you see things that are, you know, bother people. You know, and it's not necessary. I mean, to you know, the bothering other people, they're only making it more difficult to put solar up when that happens.
right.
And some
I
people,
got,
yeah.
go ahead, Ernie. Sorry.
Well,
I didn't mean
I
to
was just gonna
interrupt.
say, some people think, you know, that it's more of an eyesore to put it on the house than it is to have this freestanding mirror on the ground. And I mean, I'm totally in favor of solar panels. But I prefer them on buildings and on brown sites, brownfields type of stuff rather than on fields and stuff like that. Or even in people's yards, I kind of have a bit of a problem just because it kind of doesn't make sense when you get a big house. Why don't you put it on your roof? It's just the logical place to put it. It's out of the way. It's not going to get broken. All kinds of good
Mhm.
reasons for putting it on your roof.
Mhm.
I just one thing I was going to ask, and this may be beside the point. So I'll shut up if it's not appropriate now. But is encouraging batteries also to be installed? You know, and they're expensive. So I mean, you have to be even more sensitive when in the way you encourage them. There are just going to be some people who simply can't do it ever. Maybe I don't know.
Yeah, yeah. I would think that it is perfectly valid to have storage options as part of an enhanced energy plan. You know, it's supposed to be comprehensive. It's supposed to take into account generation, transportation, all this stuff. Clearly storage and resiliency. I
Yeah,
mean, we had a
resilient is a big thing about resiliency. If everyone
we
has,
had a 6 hour power outage on Saturday, and the batteries took
Oh,
it took 18% of our battery capacity, and we didn't even, you know, notice, other than the lights flickered for a second, and then I checked and said, yeah, we ran on batteries for 6 hours, and it took 18% of the batteries. So, and Green Mountain Power is clearly um, going into this strategy where they will evaluate by neighborhood and bury some power lines and encourage batteries in other, whichever makes the most sense. But they will greatly encourage and assist with batteries.
yeah, I
So,
mean, I have a thing also about solar in that I think it's a good way to wean us away from, at least partially away from large corporations that tend to be quite malicious in a lot of ways. Okay,
so Chris, what do you think, you know, given all the various resources and assistance for doing an enhanced energy plan, what makes sense in terms of just the sequence? Like you said at the planning commission meeting, it's time to get some work done. How do you want to do it?
how to
um,
execute.
Yeah.
I didn't hear, what did she
Go ahead,
say?
Ernie.
No, I was I
Go ahead.
I was saying I didn't hear you.
Oh, no. What I was going to say is, Ernie, did you by any chance get an opportunity to look at the packet and the thing that I put in the packet about how to do it? Sort of the initial steps?
Very, very briefly. I mean, not enough to say I understand it. I mean, you know, I'll you know what's going on in my life right at the
Yeah.
moment.
Yep. That's why I didn't want to.
Right. But
Yeah.
I mean, I mean, I'm taking this seriously. I mean, part of sort of moving ahead is doing things like making sure I attend my meetings and stuff like that, not skipping them, but you know,
Mm-hmm.
so no, I didn't get a chance to read it, but I'm, you know, I know enough about how this works technologically anyways. You know, so I can listen and believe it or not, I can listen, and follow along fairly quickly. I'll pick this stuff up. Well, the stuff I don't know. So, be my guest to just go on, and I'll ask questions
Well, so the only thing, this is the funny thing about the way packets come out, and I've always found that it's like kind of one step forward, two steps back, because a lot of times you put things in a packet, but that's not the focal point. The focal point would be other things on the agenda. No, not like with ours in this particular case, but it's kind of like I put that in there as another introduction to what we would put on for the next agenda. And that would be take the time to look at it and pick out parts that I think we could address. Because I think we were talking about this in our planning commission meeting, where you have to come up with a strategy on how to execute, right? Something like when we were talking about Cheryl mentioned the whole thing about changing the zoning regs for borderline adjustments or subdivision, merging subdivision. And my question was, well, actually, how do you go about doing it? And it dawned on me that planning commissions in the past would have to do it, have to do the legwork and actually execute. We seem to be falling into this sort of, we're waiting for someone to be hired, and then we do all the talking, and then we pass it off to them and say, okay, do all the paperwork. So we're kind of in limbo right now to actually pass it off to somebody who would officially, do that. We'll talk about it, and then have some, a ZA come in and do a lot of the official legwork. But for me, I keep asking myself, at what point do we stop just doing all the reading and the background and sit in a meeting like this and then say, okay, what is step one? And by looking at it, I understand that Ernie didn't get a chance to read that, which is fine. But it would be like we all have homework. We've been really good with this group by saying, let's do homework. And what is the homework? Go home and pick out one.
I would just point out, Chris, I think, and it's a very good point. But I would say that what we've been talking about in the Planning Commission, and again, let's see if we can use this committee as an example, is using the subcommittees as execution working groups that really do it. So I count subcommittees as staff of the PC, that's where the work gets done. And so we should feel responsible to step through in detail and say, okay, who's gonna talk to the regional commission and figure out our contact for doing an enhanced energy plan? Who's gonna gather up this data or that data? I think that's the way the subcommittees should work.
When you look at that handout you sent around, I mean, they right off the top have plan preparation, and every single one of these things, every one of the steps in that is something we've already been touching on it, and I'm looking at it and I'm thinking, right there, we're ready to this little group alone is ready to start to take this stuff on. I mean, the biggest thing that we probably have to do is it says before beginning the project, it's important to build a general consensus among municipal boards about the need to develop an enhanced energy plan. To some degree, one thing that it seems to me is that, because one of the next one it says is determine responsibilities, which municipal board. It's obviously going to be the planning commission. We're the ones that want to do it and have the people that have the kind of knowledge that can lead to this. I mean, what other board has out of 7 members is Chris, besides you, is there anyone that doesn't have any technological background? in this board. I mean, I'm serious.
Yeah,
You know, I mean, this of all the boards, you know, you even have somebody with patents on the board and stuff, you know, I mean, it's like
yeah.
you,
Well, so
you,
I think that's the point, Ernie, is that we're ready to roll essentially. And
So
the
it's, I
planning
think it's time,
commission
if
then
we just,
has the
we just get-
subcommittee to work on it.
I just think that, well, okay, so that was my next thing, is I was gonna say, so basically, we could just pull the trigger tonight if we wanted to. And, you know, because it says, you know, start, you know, doing your analysis and targets and stuff like that. I don't know, I haven't seen, reviewed the existing municipal plan. I don't even know if we have one, really. I mean, I know there's people that sort of semi-worked on things like it, but I don't know if we have anything actually formalized.
Well,
The town plan
interestingly,
is what they're talking about.
yeah, the town plan, but if you remember the Two Rivers memo that's been in the packet like 2 meetings ago for the planning commission, and we didn't get to it last meeting, but that specifically talks about the delta, the changes in our current municipal plan that would be needed to satisfy an enhanced energy plan. And it was like half a page. I mean, it was not that much. I was surprised at how little it was. And that was the regional commission, their opinion on our municipal plans status relative to bumping it up to enhanced energy, that the energy component of it. So we're well along the way.
So, I
And I
mean,
think I'm just going to say that
Yeah.
so what we want to do, and this is all very good advice in this thing. We want to be very explicit because we want participation and we want knowledge. So I think we, as this subcommittee, we said to the planning commission in the last report that this group wanted to take on the task of doing an enhanced energy plan. And the planning commission said, okay, fine. And so I think the next step, which is sensibly outlined here, is to publicize that, to create a document or a little note from this group, not just the minutes, but clearly in the minutes, but maybe something, and then send a note to the select board, send a note to the energy committee, send a note to the conservation commission, put a note on the listserv that says this subcommittee of the planning commission is going to be doing this work over the next 3 to 6 months. These are the first steps. This is what it entails. Please join in. Please does the select board, do any of those groups want to have somebody regularly come to meetings? And so on.
Bob's
Go ahead, Bob.
So you mentioned the differences between what's required from an enhanced energy plan and the town plan, the delta between the two. But you've also in the past mentioned how you want to make significant changes to the town plan. So the changes you're thinking of making, how would they affect the delta, the differences between the enhanced energy plan requirements and what the new town plan or the amended town plan might be? So if you're going to jump into saying, oh, well, we've got all this information in guideposts to start, make sure that the place you're trying to move the goalpost to is in conjunction, doesn't substantially change the direction you need to move.
Yeah.
Well, we got that list of stuff the last time for the last meeting. I can't remember who wrote the document. It was Torque. I mean, it was
Kyle.
Okay, it was Kyle.
Collected the notes from Torque.
Yeah. And I don't know if I even remember him addressing anything about our energy plan or anything like that. I'm not sure.
It did towards the end, and like I said, it was pretty small changes.
So we would look at the two of those two documents would help us get a real good handle and it might be I just felt that the energy stuff that was, it was kind of, taking what Jan just said and also what Kyle wrote. It might not really change the town plan, a whole lot of the town plan. It won't turn it on its head.
I
That-
agree.
So, well, but Chris, what about the, I mean, because I see what Bob's saying, and clearly, first and foremost, we are bounding the discussion to energy. We're talking about the energy component of the town plan. And so, whatever land use conversations and so forth, that's clearly not the subcommittee, it's not the task we're on. But we have clearly, we set up this subcommittee partly based on lessons learned from Upper Loveland project and so forth. So, for example, what to do about the preferred siting statement in the town plan, and if we're going to change from the whole town is default to outlining default or preferred, constrained and excluded, which is what is a very typical enhanced energy plan that's getting very specific, has those kinds of categories of mapping exercise. But to Bob's point, that's a significant change to the current town plan, that you have energy component that you then have to wrap up. Okay, that's part of us redoing the energy part of the town plan, is we're actually making a change and making it work as an enhanced energy plan.
what we might want to try and think of this as for a while. I mean, the enhanced energy plan might have to be sort of standalone, but it becomes a component when we go to redo the town plan. There's nothing in those statutes that says we have to wait 8 years or 5 years in the old days to do the town plan. We can do it as soon as when we think it's appropriate. Because we were talking about that earlier in this year. But the point is that this gives us a good chance to use, as you just said, all these other places that we can draw in, and then we can sort of set this aside, say, we've got this done. And now we look at the other parts of the town plan and see how it affects them, or how they are they going to work well with this and all. Well, we'll be working. We'll be already looking at the town plan to make this work with that, but does that work with, I got this backwards, but you know what I'm trying to say,
Yeah, and it offers up in this sheet, it says part of one of the questions is the enhanced energy plan a standalone document that is referenced by the town plan, or is it totally incorporated in the town plan?
Well, that's what I was thinking. I saw that, and we could call it standalone until we want to incorporate it.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, and it gives us a chance to also try it out too before we incorporate it into a longer range town plan when we do that. So it gives us a chance to find out what works and what we didn't get right, and make it right.
Yeah,
and
it would
then
be
goes to the town plan.
simpler. It would be simpler because if we basically upset the apple cart of the entire town plan,
Yeah.
by shaking it from the energy side, then it's going to be a 2-year process, and it's going to be the tail wagging the dog, and it's going to be harder. If we can think energy, and okay, it pulls in transportation, and it does, but you might just put a hook in to say, okay, there's a land use hook around development patterns or whatever, and you can have a almost standalone energy plan with these little hooks to transportation and hook to land use, but you don't have to swallow the whole town plan.
Yep.
Just to get the enhanced energy plan in.
I think calling it, I think we've just come to a decision, sort of, is to have it a standalone plan. at least, for the time
It's a
being.
good place. You could start with it. You could
Right.
say, let's
Start with
start
it.
with that.
And then we built, eventually it does get built into the town plan, but you gotta start somewhere, and this group is basically focused on energy, so in the town, this plan, so I think we should just get rolling.
So Ernie, were you reading, because when you're talking about standalone, were you reading that off of the
Yeah.
thing in the packet?
Yeah,
Yeah.
it has it mentioned there. I
Okay.
saw it somewhere.
Yeah, because it says standalone or integrated plan. Determine if the enhanced energy plan
Yeah.
will be integrated or a standalone.
Well, that
And I
the
think, to Ernie's point, if we had a 10-year-old town plan that clearly had to be overhauled and we were going to bite off that, then we could say, all right, it's going to be incorporated. That's the nature of the project here. And it's going to take the whole planning commission with 3 different subcommittees working on it. But if we have a relatively new and in decent shape town plan, but we want to go for an enhanced energy plan, then we might as well start with the assumption, let's try it as a standalone. And if it's got too many of these kind of links trying to pull into the full town plan, then we'll see. But it's a good place to start, I'd say.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah. I agree. I mean, if you look at the way that this report or whatever it is, they really have a great sort of path to where you start. And I think the standalone is a great idea.
Just to wrap back, because I'm taking notes as we go, which helps me remember what we just said a minute ago. Do we want to formalize or at least agree on some kind of a publicity or and it's suggested here it would be kind of build consensus and determine responsibilities, where we're taking on the leadership role. The planning commission has agreed with that. It matches our charter. Great. But do we want to agree to say, all right, we're going to do something, and that may be one or a couple of us volunteer to write up a 1-paragraph thing. Here's what an enhanced energy plan is, and get that listserv, various town committees, select board, make the effort visible.
I would think that it would be a priority, because I think the last thing anybody wants to do is find out that it's already in the works. They want to be part of the process. So I would think that, I mean, everybody knows right now that there's a subcommittee that's sort of looking at solar siting. Now, an enhanced energy plan is kind of, broadening our charter, so to speak. But with the complete support of the planning commission. So I think, I don't know if we have to add this to our charter. We might want to amend the charter, because this is actually, the enhanced energy plan is going to take us out of just solar siting. And that's sort of what the committee.
I'll look at the charter while we're talking, but I bet it's broad enough to include it.
Right.
Seems
But
to
I
me
don't
that
want people to think that, if they see our agenda and they see that we're a solar siting committee, then, they may ignore it if they don't really care. But if suddenly we're going to start looking at an enhanced energy plan, and we're going to make recommendations to the planning commission that includes greater insulation in a new construction, then you're going to start touching on areas that other people might be more interested in having a say in it. Because again, the enhanced energy plan goes well beyond just, solar. I mean, it really touches on so many other things. And so I think to let the public know that the solar siting committee is actually just to me, it would be introduce the idea as much as we possibly can that the town is going to consider an enhanced energy plan and just educate them on what that is.
Yeah.
But there are no decisions being
So
made. but
just
that's what's
to
gonna
be
happen.
clear, we don't have to change our charter. The charter that we wrote in September that the planning commission saw and approved has under subcommittee activities, there's a bullet that is evaluate the possibility of creating an enhanced energy plan as a method to increase influence. So that doesn't necessarily say do it, lead the effort, but it's clearly enabled in the charter that's already there. But I agree with you. The point is, let's wave a flag.
A broad campaign.
This is what it is. And this is that we're doing it in this committee will be the focal for it, as just as we said at the beginning, as an official committee of the planning commission, which to Ernie's point is clearly the right place to do it. It's a plan. And we're going to propose, I would propose that this committee is the focal. So you're right, Chris. We have expanded from pure solar siting to say we're going to propose, pick a time. We're going to propose for the next 6 months. This committee's activities are going to focus. We're going to be the focal for an enhanced energy plan creation for the town of Norwich, and we're going to reach out with that task to the select board and the energy committee and so forth, and publicize and pull people in and say what it means and make it happen.
I also think what we can do sort of to satisfy the solar siting issue, which is kind of immediate in a way, is we can make it clear that solar siting is part of the enhanced energy plan. It can even be one of the first things we address so that people can sort of see some of what our stepping stones are going to be. I mean, solar siting actually is kind of an important part of an enhanced energy plan. I mean,
Well, you have to map
I mean,
preferred sites, and you have to, there's a whole mapping
right.
exercise.
So all of that, we could start dealing with that stuff right up front. So it satisfies the name of this subcommittee, while also being part of the enhanced energy plan. I mean, I tend to look at it's because it's the way statutes and stuff are written. There's always subparts to subparts, and they're all added together and sort of put into a logical. So we could be doing that, this kind of plan, which will be be sort of a regulation too, ultimately. I mean, we start with the pieces, and one piece is solar siting. So we could start talking about the entire enhanced energy plan, but then we could also, the first pieces of the energy plan that we work with could be solar siting, and see how that works. See how effective we are at coming up and resolving that in a way that then also is going to mesh later on with other parts. I mean, in engineering, whenever I designed anything, I always designed it with the ability to be changed or built into or become a module to other things. I often was doing like assembly line type, building an assembly line stuff. You start with this tool here because that's what they need right now. But the thing is that eventually it gets hooked all up to a bigger, more complex thing. So I mean, I'm thinking, and you were talking about hooks. I mean, it's kind of the same thing.
Yeah.
And
I think we can clearly, there's a direct link from solar siting to enhanced energy plan in the sense that, and we talked about this back in Upper Loveland times, that the town has, it's the difference between due consideration and substantial deference. If you want to help control your destiny and give neighbors the ability to, give the town the ability to influence
Yep.
energy projects, solar siting, then an enhanced energy plan is a tool, is a strong tool for helping you solar site. So
kill
it's a
two birds with one stone.
direct linkage.
Which is
Yeah,
not
but
very,
it's also, but if you read this thing that they did in the packet, it's also very educational on letting people know, as the town plan does, is what the current energy they're saying it's required. We are required to map out the current energy use. I mean, it isn't just what we want to do for regulations. It is tied into current use, and how it ties into future use and development. So it's super educational.
And some of that's in our plan now. I mean, we clearly have.
Yeah, no, it
Look at
definitely
the
is.
plan, how many kilowatt hours, how many solar sites, that it's, it's an updating exercise that would be
Yeah,
done
very much so.
from what's there already. And, I mean, that's really what the whole point to the word enhanced is. We have a perfectly good energy component to our town plan. To make it officially enhanced and give us the substantial deference, you need to be more serious about it. You need to say, what are the targets for Norwich for generation? And that means you got to come up with preferred sites, or at least constrained sites, not excluded sites, that have a prayer of meeting your targets. I mean, you got to pony up some stuff to get the benefits. So, I mean, I think we can, at least for starters, jump into the void, volunteer the committee as the appropriate lead actor in this effort, publicize it, and then, we'll get some people come out of the woodwork. We'll have to answer some questions about membership and, how we'll process. But I don't think it'll change the fact that this is the appropriate body to lead the effort.
Yeah, I think just the educational aspect of it up front would be really, really smart.
So I think that is a task. That is a specific task to, it sounds like kind of write something up. Here's what we're proposing to do. And then just go down the list of anybody that might care about it, through including the listserv, and say, this is what we're doing. Even throw in a couple links. I mean, this is a good link. There are probably 3 or 4 others. The Two Rivers Energy Plan, Thetford's got one, Stratford's got one. We could make a half-page blurb with several links that would sign us up for the right thing.
Is it possible? I don't know, again, in regards to OML, is it possible to create? I mean, Jan, I know you only have your own separate Gmail that has your name with the planning commission. It's not an official town thing,
No.
but is there a way to create something like, I don't know, Facebook? I don't do social media, so I wouldn't know which platform to use. So is there a way to create like a Facebook page so that people can actually make comments? Not that we would make decisions like on a meeting like this, but that people could sort of engage in the conversation, or is that an OML?
That's an OML thing. I mean, I think we can and should use the solar siting subcommittee has a page on the town website, and we've already put various things on there, and Pam manages it, and Pam can take emails to planning@Norwich VT email, and put links up there. So in terms of resource, and that's the landing page if you're interested in the project, and we put descriptions of what we're working on. It's the back and forth conversation, basically the work of public policy that you need to watch out for.
No,
But
no,
I
no.
think-
See, that's
I
what I was
think
trying
we
to.
should learn, we should use that. We should use, it's the town plan website, solar siting. And we would say that in our little blurb, we'd say solar siting group is gonna lead this. And we're gonna use as a home base for the activity this link on the town webpage. And, here's when the meetings are, and the best way to get involved is to come to the meetings.
Right.
But we will accept people are writing us letters. We got Rosman's, we got another one today that went to Marcia from Linwood, somebody, I can't remember his last name, but he was, it was a climate change advocacy letter. So people are sending, we got like 3 letters about this topic in the last week, just coming in. And so we would have a compilation of public comment that could end up, again, referenced on the website.
Go ahead, Bob.
So Article 36 Task Force created a Google Drive that had full public access, and all correspondence that came in to Article 36 Task Force or created by were added to that drive, which was, as I say, publicly accessible.
Yeah, that has been now
that
frowned on.
may.
It's
Oh,
been
it is
frowned
now.
on.
Yeah. Okay.
Both
It's
from
been what?
If you Google OML and Google Drive, you'll get some Secretary of State guidelines discouraging the use of Google Drives. And I guarantee, given the Katuki settlement recently, the select board has gotten that much more conservative about anything to do with OML. So I don't think we'll get a shared drive with editable documents or anything like that. But I think we can do a version of that that's essentially more kind of one-way. Public comment can come in. It can come through a packet, but then get put into a more useful format on the website so people can see it. We can curate it. So it's like, here are public comments, for screening criteria about solar siting. Here are public comments on encouraging radical climate change actions. And we can do whatever we want in curating it. We just can't have a real dynamic tit for tat public sphere live on the web. That I think isn't going to fly.
Well, the listserv is, a great way to just at least have, and again, Jan, I think it's better for you to stay as chair and have it come from you and have a steady source. So, if you're willing to, I'll help you write documents or whatever, write up something that says, I think educating people to understand what this entails, and that they need to know that this isn't just, well-wishing the earth to be better. There are going to be some serious regulations that are going to affect permitting. So I think that people really need to understand that this isn't just, we all just want them to feel really good about this because, we want more solar. But, it's suddenly, if we decide, which is in some of the enhanced plans, is that they're gonna start requiring new building codes. And I mean, some people would take that very seriously if they are thinking about new construction. And we don't have insulating codes in this town. And suddenly, if you're in new construction and somebody comes up to you and says, "Oh, by the way, do you have R38 in your walls?" And they're like, "Well, we don't have codes." But it's just one of
Yeah.
those things that I think educating people to know that that's the kind of stuff we're talking about, I think is super important.
Yeah, and I had just a brief conversation I had with the Historic Preservation Commission. They flagged kind of a combination of us, the Planning Commission, the Energy Committee, and the Historic Committee to kind of basically help do that in a sensitive way. So that if you were going to take a historic building downtown, you know, one of the bricks coming into town, you know, can we get the resources to help them be energy efficient in a sensitive way? So,
Yeah.
but that's again the point. You don't just say, okay, make everybody's house super insulated. You're balancing these different values, different needs that the town cares about.
Linda, go ahead.
Hi, thank you. I just wanted to, looking at the document that you have in your packet, and I just wanted to refer you to page 3 of it. And it's got plan preparation resources. And I want to highlight the third one, which is guidance for municipal enhanced energy planning standards. So I highly recommend that you all look carefully at that at the beginning of your process here, and go over it because it's very detailed. It will give you a good idea of all the big elements that you have to have. And the little elements too. Thank you.
Linda, were you or do you have familiarity with any of our neighbors' enhanced energy plans? Because I know Thetford and Stratford and so forth already have them. Were you involved in those or that activity?
Only a little bit. So I think we all wrestled with the issue of how to work out citing recommendations. So because it seems like you either have kind of generalized guidelines that then you have to figure out how to apply, or like to some degree the recommendations where it's like, or you can in your plan you can identify specific parcels, which seems like that's a very fraught approach to take. So no, I can only say there were a lot of discussions about that.
Okay. So Chris, I think we can just park that specific, and maybe we'll just be very specific about it and say between the two of us, we will craft a short summary of the activity of what is an enhanced energy plan, and we're gonna lead the effort, and then we can bring that back to this group, or this group can kind of trust us to do it, and that would enable us to put it out to a wider audience before our next meeting.
Yeah, no, I think that's a great idea. And the other thing, Jan, that I kind of get the impression, although I haven't, have you had a chance to ask T-Rock, whatever, if how long it actually takes in general for a town to complete this? Are we talking a year, months?
No, I asked Peter Gregory that exact question, and and he said for Norwich or towns in general, Norwich specifically, this is not a big lift, given the number of resources, the fact that your neighbors have it, that Two Rivers already has it, and you're embedded in their mapping resources and so forth. That his quote was that would not be a big lift. And so we need to Linda's point, if we said we're gonna take on a mapping exercise to identify specific preferred sites, we might bury ourselves for 6 months. And so we might want to take this in stages, but from what Two Rivers said, it's not heroic. Most of our neighboring towns already do it.
Well, the only thing I would say is that when we start getting public education stuff, that we should actually give them a time frame so that they'll know that this isn't like,
Yeah.
well, we're going to be doing this for the next 2 years or next month or
If
something.
somebody says oh, you're redoing the town plan. I mean, it says right in the first page of this packet, develop project schedule 3 to 9 months, to draft the
Right.
municipal energy plan. So I think we can restate something that seems perfectly reasonable. You're not going to do much in less than 3 months, and let's not set the expectation it's more than 9.
Go ahead, Ernie.
No, that was exactly what I was just gonna point out, is that the first page says 3 to 9 months, and my gut tells me 6 months would be ample for this group to pull it together.
Yeah, if we start with
just-
a standalone statement, that means you're not trying to boil the ocean of the whole town plan. And you almost back up from that. You say, our target is to get an enhanced energy plan, and it's basically approved by the regional commission. That's the bar. Once the, clearly the select board has to approve it, but then the regional commission approving it is the stamp. That our target is 6 months, and let's sort of back up from that and see what we have to do.
I'm wondering if we could, the first thing would be to just sort of educate on what an enhanced energy plan is, but I'm wondering if we might want to schedule our next meeting for public discussion if people have questions on it, and if we want to invite somebody from T-Rock to come in and say, as a speaker, they'll be able to explain to you what this is about, so that they sort of a Q&A. And instead of just being the solar siting committee, that it would be, our next meeting will be very specifically about any issues or concerns that you have, and how we can get you to participate in the process.
Yep. I think that's a good idea, and I think Two Rivers would be happy to do it. And I think it would be good to make a concrete link, get a contact person at Two Rivers.
Yeah.
So just, I can ask Peter Gregory, say, we're gonna kick this off. Can we have, a single point of contact at Two Rivers for this activity? And then preferably get that person to come to the next meeting, give some background, answer questions, and then we gear our publicity effort pointing at that. So it's the kickoff, informational session, resources available, come one, come all kind of thing.
Definitely. I like the idea of calling, it's sort of a kickoff. Good idea. Okay.
Go ahead, Ernie. I didn't see.
Well, I was just gonna say, sort of a kickoff for us to some degree is, I was just looking at the next thing on the agenda is continue discussion of the topic of ridgeline and scenic resources, which is related to siting.
Mhm.
And I was thinking, well, there we go. We're already starting on we're already, this is information, this is work that can contribute to the enhanced energy plan. I mean, we can start thinking like we're doing the enhanced energy plan when we start dealing with this stuff.
I never heard back from the Alliance. I'm so bummed.
Huh.
They were gonna, yeah, I wanted one of the members of the Alliance to join our meeting.
Yeah, I mean, to your point, Ernie, I do think the Ridgeline and Scenic conversations with the solar sighting angle, which is the way we were talking about them, just rolled right into the enhanced energy plan,
Yep,
that's
this is a
just
good, we're
component.
tonight, we're starting it.
Yeah, so we don't, that the agendas going forward should basically be, continue work on enhanced energy plan and then specifics of, the next one would be public kickoff meeting with Two Rivers and then, follow these kind of guidelines. We got to do the mapping. We got to do the inventory. We got to do the background data.
This is how things, how this process, why this process might go fairly smoothly is because, I mean, it's kind of serendipitous that the next subject happens to be something that falls into, but I'm not so sure. I mean, this whole group was set up for that and for the two things, enhanced energy and for this, and it works together. But the point is that, apparently you're what you're saying is you really hadn't expected to put the two things together yet, but here they are already sort of falling together for us.
No, I did expect, I think that makes perfect sense. I mean, we're going to, it becomes an umbrella of enhanced energy plan that then rolls lessons learned from Upper Lowland and Ridgeline and Scenic. And, we talked about screening small ground mount systems and, so all that stuff that's been bubbling around is given a framework, has the scaffold that's already built in from what you have to do to get an enhanced energy plan. So I think it really gives us bones to build on and gives us a whole lot of guidance.
Yeah, and speaking of mapping, what I took from our planning commission meeting is that we've got a really good head start on this mapping thing from, was it T-Rock or from?
No, it's NEMREC and
NEMRIC. Oh yeah, no,
NEMRIC,
that goes back to the
yeah.
whole lister. Yeah, it was NEMRIC.
Yes,
Okay.
the listers, and
NEMRIC already
I'm
has-
working with, I'm going back and forth with this guy, Adam at NEMRIC. I got the listers too, and the town manager to both say, yeah, sure, go ahead. And so they're gonna we have the zoning district maps and the aquifer protection maps that are already in GIS overlay format. And he's already got them. So without any work required to say, oh, wow, do we have the Ridgeline overlay ready? We have 5 overlays ready that can be tested.
Incorporated. So, is NEMRIC going to use their parcel map? So incorporate parcel.
It's an overlay. It's an overlay on the interactive parcel map.
Oh, that's perfect, because I think that was the one thing that was so ridiculous about the current Ridgeline.
Yeah, you should be able to say, I want a permit. I'm going to do an application. Let me click on my parcel, and then I turn on one map, and it says what zoning district you're in, and then you turn on another, and it tells you, are you in Ridgeline? Are you in Scenic? Are you in Aquifer Protect? Are you a wetland? That you would see that linked to your parcel.
Oh, that's so cool. So now at this point, since mapping is a huge part of the requirement of enhanced energy, I don't want to assume anything, but I can imagine that we can roll in whatever the enhanced energy component is of mapping with that as well.
Oh yeah. Yeah. And Two Rivers has tons of stuff on, there already exists steep slopes, solar potential, which just means slopes and what direction the hill faces and so forth. So there are already a fair number of mapping resources that include Norwich, but then are regional. And so we would be pulling them together as part of the mapping component of the enhanced plan.
Right, Linda, you might remember this, but I know that there's in the town plan, I remember seeing this in the energy component. I forgot what it's called, but there's a company, not a company, but I think it's a .org that actually tracks energy use per town. And you guys listed it in the town plan, but it's a really, really great resource.
You might be thinking of something called the Energy Dashboard.
Yes, it is the energy dashboard.
And I think that is it's kind of a mixed bag. It is a resource. It's got data in it. I feel like it's not totally complete data, but anyway, but yes, it's a resource.
Yeah, no,
Yeah,
I remember looking at it.
I looked at it, Chris, and I remember being at first very excited and then slightly disappointed.
Well,
Was
no,
my,
because I
and
looked at
that's kind of
Norwich.
where I
and-
left it. But and it sounds like that's similar to what Linda's saying. But
No, but
we
if I remember correctly, it showed parcels and the energy use, or if you have solar. If I have the right one, I looked at so many different maps. I'm not sure if this was it, but if you could actually pinpoint parcels and the energy component of that particular parcel. If they had solar, maybe I've got the wrong one.
we certainly have maps of every solar project in Norwich. I mean, GMP and various other resources have that.
Right.
Because they're net metered. And then you have three-phase power maps, where those lines go. And so, and some of that's already in the town plan. And then some of it's in the regional plan and includes us, and we just have to bundle it.
Yeah.
So that's
Right,
that's
exactly, the
part
bundle
of the
part of it.
exercise. Mhm.
Okay, so we have a good start already then on the mapping portion of it then. That's
Yeah,
really
it
cool.
clearly would be integrated into the mapping exercise going forward of the planning commission. So the planning commission is going to have land use things in the map and zoning districts and other development things, and we would have energy related resources mapped.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so oh, go ahead. Sorry, Ernie.
I was just going to say, we were talking about mapping and stuff like that. I just hope that we can, mapping and graphs and so on and so forth, which is what the handout says we should make sure that we use so that people understand this stuff. I hope we do a better one, better than the figure, which is figure 2 for the municipal Highgate one, because their numbers up. That's not a very good explanation. Somebody would say that is probably fudging an awful lot, because I'm just trying to see how the proportions they've got are that's correct. So I'm just saying, I hope we can do better than that.
Well, I agree with you. As a graphic, I think if you look at our town plan and where it calculates targets and regeneration capacity, I think our number was something like 60 something acres of arrays.
So can you imagine? I mean,
I often wonder 83.
I often wonder about that, because I hear very optimistic, when they say how much solar we would need to power the entire United States, for instance. It's actually a tiny, it's about the size of 4 Vermont towns. If you covered 4 Vermont towns from one end to the other with solar panels, you would have enough power to run everything in the United States with electricity, theoretically. But of course, that's not true. I find it very hard to believe you know, I'd love it if it were true, but it's,
But
you know,
I think that, I mean,
we
part
gotta
of the
be careful.
targeting exercise, yeah, part of the targeting exercise, and I backed up the math and it made sense in that if you took, it's about an acre, call it 150 kW an acre or something like that for arrays. I remember that from both the Lamperti application, and then Upper Loveland was going to be about 3 acres of panels, and that was 500 kW. And we needed 16 megawatts, and you backed up from that. But maybe Linda can probably describe it better.
What I actually raised my hand about I think you're right. Like the proportion of town land is very small that is needed. The thing that I wanted to mention to you is to consider that, say, looking at that Highgate, it's a very similar thing. It's like, hey, the town is the whole circle, and the amount that you need to generate the renewable clean electricity that you're going to want to have for your population is a very small portion of that. But then when you think it through, it's like, well, the maps that you can get based on solar potential are, as Jan mentioned, they are just based on slope and orientation and stuff. And so it has no consideration of who owns that land and if they are interested in having solar on their land. So when you think about the practical aspects of, if in fact installing the renewable energy systems that we want to do, it just gets suddenly more complex. It's like what you start off with data from Two Rivers is kind of like a thought experiment, and then to put it into action, it becomes way more a lot of details to work out.
Yeah.
And typically, like you can say, it's like for a plan like this, you don't have to work those details out. But on the other hand, in order to take action, we do have to work those details out.
Right.
I guess
And-
my concern only, and I don't want to take this too far, so I'm just gonna, but having worked, you know, for a while in the energy engineering years ago, when nuclear power was a big thing, and everyone, of course, I'm sure in this group listening is quite aware of the exaggeration, the outright lies that were told to support it and stuff like that, and then ordinary people got all excited because those lies sounded so convincing. We have a similar thing in politics now. And so I just get nervous when I see something this optimistic
yeah.
presented to the public.
Yeah.
Not because I don't think it's true. Like I said, I wish it was. I hope it is. It'd be great if it was. But yeah, you know, I mean, I'm nervous that that's a little overselling, and I don't want people getting disappointed later on and then say the whole thing doesn't work because you oversold it the first time around, you know?
Yeah. Yeah. Well, and just to your point about batteries and so forth, I mean, if we put 63 acres of solar panels up, you're not done. We're all set for energy. That's why there's a state energy plan and various other
Right.
pieces. But Linda, just before I go, because I have to agree with you, Ernie, this graphic can't be right. Because what it says is 32,000 acres is the big green, and 1,000 acres is the little green with the dot in it. But that little lighter green circle is way smaller than 1/32 of the big one. So that graphic is just BS. It's not a correct scale.
Right, and that's what's going to get people. That's what's going to make people say solar people are liars. They, you know, anyone who's enthusiast.
I mean, that little circle is supposed to be 1/32 of the
right,
big.
but then the smaller ones, even I couldn't even see the small one until I looked real closely at why there's 2 arrows. I thought it was 2 arrows pointing to the same thing, one saying one number and one saying a different number. Then I noticed there's this almost invisible I mean, if you have the
Yeah.
slightest bit of old eyes, you're not gonna see that
But
dot.
that's not I mean, I can put 30 of those little green circles in and it would fit, fit in one corner of the big one. So something's amiss in their graphics department.
Right.
What
That's
are you guys, what are you guys looking at? Are you looking at the map of Richford or where?
No,
page
it's
3.
top of page 3 in the numbered pages, not the packet pages. It's actually page 7 of the packet. But there's a green, it's a graphic of how.
Oh, I see, the solar potential of
And I don't
Highgate.
see
There
the
we go.
color either. It's black
trying
and
to
white to me.
explain to you how for a tiny portion of the total land area, you can generate, you can make what you need to for solar. But the graphic is incorrect proportionally speaking, because it says the small green circle is 1/32, 1,000 out of 32,000, 1/32 of the big dark green. And it clearly isn't if you just look at it geometrically. But anyway, we will do better than that in our graphics, promise. But I do think that that's I mean, there are lots of resources, and I think this is gonna be almost a kind of a la carte assembly exercise. There are plenty of resources about targets and methods and zoning codes for efficiency and so forth. And we're going to be picking and choosing and assembling them rather than, writing the whole thing from scratch. There's tons of stuff out there.
Yeah, and that's why, I don't mean to beat it down, but I just want to make sure that when we explain the enhanced energy plan, the solar part of it is only a component of an enhanced energy plan, that there is just a lot more as a part of it. So
So can we, Chris, just to get something concrete done tonight, I think your point is, what do we need to do to be ready for the next meeting is my question. Can we parse that out? So I will talk to Peter Gregory specifically, asking for both a contact person for this effort and preferably to have that contact person be available, and we can time our next meeting for when they are available to attend. So that's one effort. And then the two of us are going to craft a short summary of
or Ernie can participate if he's up for it.
I mean, I'm happy if we can just, we need to craft it in a way that works. Either we do it meeting to meeting. If you have one person do it, or even two, no, two is a quorum.
So the only thing I would say is that the state's already provided so much information.
Yes.
And so I guess I would sort of see it with us kind of, or all three of us sort of contributing is, Ernie and I don't know, your writing skills, if we bullet point some of the characteristics or what we think are sort of an important part. And then if you want to sort of put that together in a form or not. I mean, quite frankly, Jan, sometimes I feel, and it's so true, you've got usually less than 10 seconds to keep people's mind, keep their attention. So if you write a big long paragraph, you're going to lose them pretty quickly. So it's almost like I would keep it short and simple with a lot of
5 bullets, 5 bullets and a date.
Yeah,
maybe all you got.
Yeah, I mean, and unfortunately, you have to waste time saying, "Well, this is part of the solar committee, which is part of the planning commission." Blah blah blah. I would say, just boil it down to, the town of Norwich is going to undergo an enhanced energy plan, and this is what you need to know, and participate if you so choose. But I think it's really important to just be able to get a couple listserv posts out, and again, a letter, the same letter should go to all the committees and the
Yeah.
select board, etc. And just say, here, this is it. We're having a meeting, and what's the January? It would be February.
Sometime, yeah, third week in February when we can
Sure.
go around the Two Rivers person to make sure. But I think you're right. I think rather than craft a beautiful half-page summary, the goal of the publicity is the meeting.
No,
Is
the buzzword.
is the participation in the meeting.
You guys are
Yeah,
already
it's-
disagreeing.
No, I'm not disagreeing here. I was saying, to me, it is the buzzword. It's kind of like saying the town plan. And some people get excited about it, other people, it raises their hair up. And so to me, it's just letting people know when they hear the word enhanced energy plan. And if they're interested, it's kind of getting that. It's kind of like a marketing effort, so to speak, an enhanced
Yeah.
energy plan. Understand that an enhanced energy plan is coming. What does it mean? We'll have a meeting next week or next month and blah, blah, blah. But this is what an enhanced energy plan is. It will affect you.
Right. It will affect you from building codes. It will affect you if you care about
It
climate
will
change.
affect you.
It will,
That's what I
yeah.
mean, but just bullet points. Just like,
Yeah.
this is not like, we're not going to be talking about climate change. This is not a conversation about climate change. This is about things that will be affecting you from an enhanced energy plan. It's very tangible. No, not tangible. That's not the right, that wasn't the right. It's something, I don't know. I just
Well,
think
it has practical implications to everybody
yes.
who's gonna make a building or try to do something with their zoning or capital planning in town. It should obviously affect that. It gets rolled into the Tracy Hall conversations about the surplus. I mean, those are all included. But I think you're right. I think for the kickoff, the publicity for the kickoff can be super simple. This group, the Planning Commission's subcommittee is kicking off an activity to do an enhanced energy plan, which is no more than 5, preferably 3 or 4 bullets of what it is. It matters to you. This meeting is the kickoff. Come if you care. And that's all you need. And we will wordsmith and all that other stuff later, as we're actually crafting the thing.
Yeah, and I think as soon as you get people to understand that there's now going to be something called an enhanced energy plan incorporated into this town somehow, then once it becomes a buzzword, it makes it easier for them to, say, oh, the town's doing an enhanced energy plan. Oh yeah, okay. But
Mm-hmm.
yeah, I mean, that's
think we should, and we can kind of deflect this from the kickoff meeting, but because I know that the select board is talking about process and subcommittees and so forth, we should just keep that in mind, and we can emphasize, here's how we see the process. This is clearly the appropriate group to lead it, a dedicated subcommittee of the Planning Commission. As we currently see it, we will have the 3 members of the Planning Commission be the official members of the subcommittee as we are, and we will encourage all public participation in this effort. And that's how we answer the process question. So it's not like, how many members you're going to have, and are you going to have one from, we had this conversation. Are you going to have a member of the Upper Loveland Neighborhood Association as an official member of your group? And I'm like, no. That's not how we're going to do it. But we should just, because Marcia's doing this subcommittee select book handbook thing, it'll be a subject on people's minds. And our simple answer is we have this subcommittee, these 3 members, and everybody else is an ad hoc public participant. And we are going to set up the conversation and the work so that those ad hoc public participants are full working participants in the exercise.
By the way, have you asked Peter Gregory if there is, whether we use Thetford's or somebody else's, is there a sample that you could add a link? Like, you know, like if Thetford is willing to put their, we can put that, just for example, if we got a link to Thetford's and we had it on the town's website, and you put out a listserv post, and then
Yeah.
you can say, okay, well, here's a link. Have you been able to get a hold of anybody's plan to sort of look at it, just so people?
Oh, I think it was your alliance people, or that the one that was the Northwest Regional Planning Commission presentation. At the end of that presentation, it has links to every single enhanced energy plan in the state.
Oh, that's right. I forgot about that. Right.
So they're like 40 of them. Just links, this town, this town, this town, this town, all of the enhanced energy plans. So most that we
it'd
could
be
just
good
pick the ones with the most familiar names, Thetford, Stratford, Hartford, whatever, and put 4 or 5 of them on the website.
Pick one
Yeah,
about
so
as
if
big
you-
as Norwich too.
Yeah, and Thetford is good, I think, from a size, and it's not, Hartford is much more different.
Yeah, but
Um,
I mean, we're 37 or 34 or somebody, I keep hearing
Okay.
different numbers, but we're in the 3,500 range. And Thetford's actually considerably smaller, so that's why I'm saying pick one that's something around, you know, the mid between 3,000 and 4,000 also, so that we can,
yeah,
because there are it's typical, you know this, you know, I mean, when there's as size changes, so does a lot of other factors.
yep. So I
Yeah,
think
so we can just put it.
we can
you
definitely do that.
Yeah, and get Lily to just add, you know, put 3 or 4 of them up there, like it matters, but and then just link for anybody who's interested in looking at what an enhanced energy plan is, they can see a sample of it. I'd like to look
Yeah,
at.
Pam
I
can
can't believe I
do
haven't
it.
looked at one.
Pam can do that. We don't need Lily to do that. Pam is
No,
the one who curates.
Oh, I didn't realize that. So Pam has access to adding stuff on the town website?
Pam
I
is the
didn't
one. Pam is the one that manages the planning commission and the solar siting. If I say put this, like this document that you put, well, I mean, she has the packets up there anyway. But if we said add these 5 links to the solar siting page, Pam does that.
Oh, I thought Lily was the only one that had access to changing stuff up.
No, she's trying to make it a unified look and really use it. But Pam can add links and content and move things around and so forth.
Oh, good. Okay.
Yeah.
I like
Yeah.
what Lily is doing, by the way. You should, you know,
Yeah.
if you tell her.
Good job.
Yeah, we've told her that it really is looking better, and people are complaining because they're telling her she shouldn't do that. And you know, Lily, she says, fine, thanks, and she does it.
Well, how many of those people are people that don't believe we should have a town clerk?
Yes, or that town clerk should be appointed by the select board, basically. So that's fine. But yeah, so can we do you want, and let's do it in kind of a one-way fashion, because then we don't have to worry about it. If you two can, and anybody, I mean, certainly Linda, Rob, anybody, if you funnel bullet items, you know, okay, if we say we really want to keep this short and snappy, it's a few bullet items and a few links that is publicizing enhanced energy plan kickoff meeting. just send your ideas to me, and then I'll compile it and shrink it, distill it down so that it's short and pithy, and then just spam that to any committee that cares, which is certainly going to be conservation, energy, historic, select board, listers, town manager, and then listserv.
So by the way, Jan, this is why I love documents like this. Don't reinvent the wheel.
Yeah.
If you look on page 7 of the document, they've got you some of your bullet points right here. I mean, they need to be reworked.
Right.
This is just, I mean, the only problem with these things is how and where I keep emphasizing that the enhanced energy plan isn't just fluff. It is going to affect you. So it's almost like taking any one of these things and saying, oh, by the way, increased education. I was just looking at one. Encourage new municipal and other town buildings to meet LEED standards. And, substitute the word encourage to must if you change it.
Right.
But anyway, it's that kind of bullet form. They got some good stuff in there. But yes, I will look.
Potential, even if a bullet item was potential building codes to encourage / require energy efficiency or something, that by itself will bring out a few folks.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. Oh, definitely. No question. Well, and then again, it says transportation. So not that would have a effect.
Something
But anyway.
something will get their attention is if we show them some maps or something like that and say, do you want your place in a, tell us what you think is an unsuitable or preferred location or something like that.
That's a great idea, Ernie.
Well, it kind of goes along.
Do you know whether your property is a preferred solar site?
I happen to know that there's a spot on my property that is when you looked at that map that they said that looks out like these weird snake shapes and stuff like that. There is a preferred little squiggle right on my property, right near, not too far from my house, which might be the place that I was considering putting a set of solar panels until the deal fell through. I don't know why, how out, facing west. Well, no, that piece of slope faces southwest. So it would be kind of like ideal.
Yeah, we can decide because we don't want a 50-person free for all.
No, I was being facetious. I was.
Well, I wasn't actually. I misunderstood you because I like the idea that when we were talking about the getting in a car. It's what the Alliance did, driving around and picking out sites. And I think that it's a great idea that there are people who would say, my area would be great for my land. I mean, I
can hear more people saying your place will be great, mine will be terrible.
Well, yeah, because I walk past like the site, the land. It's actually, I checked the parcel map. It's part of the Catholic Church parcel there on the backside of Huntley. It's perfect. It's probably an acre or two. Dead flat, there's 3-phase power, and it's owned by the Catholic Church. Bam, but obviously.
And how many acres is it too? It probably is 100% for what the town needs, is right there.
It's probably, I mean, it's gorgeous, but again, that's the kind of thing that beats the bushes and gets people out. But to your point, Chris, the goal is to get across that it matters. It matters to you. It matters to you as much as whether or not your road's plowed, whether the cops come when you call, all the other town issues. Is the sidewalk there? If if we are accurate about this, it does matter to a lot of people, and they will be interested. And then we should be able to harness that interest and all the resources. And I think what will happen is 80% of it will be pretty straightforward assembling resources, and 20% of it will be quite contentious conversations about real topics in town. Preferred siting designations and how specific you get, or do you have building codes? There are going to be some real thorny ones, but we'll be able to assemble 70 or 80% of an enhanced energy plan from available resources pretty easily.
Yeah, and since we sort of decided, I think, that we're going to do this as a standalone document, then it's kind of seems unnecessary to even bring up the town plan in this, because then if you bring it up, you're going to kind of confuse people. So it'd be sort of,
Yeah, we could just
It's-
say it is to the question. It is being thought of as a standalone document, the enhanced energy plan for the town of Norwich, that would be incorporated by reference into the municipal plan, which
and
is
that
clear.
it will affect regulations and therefore residents.
Zoning bylaws, and actually in the solar siting part of it, as we saw in the Loveland case, the plan was more important than the bylaws. The plan is what is referred to. The only reason they even touched the bylaws in the Upper Loveland site was that it was ridgeline and some scenic things, and it rolled into the bylaws. But the way the state, the PUC talks, they are supposed to look at the town plan, and that includes obviously the enhanced energy plan. So
That's actually, Jan, I forgot about, it's such an obvious part of it, because you've been saying it, that it would be great to be able to say that this affords the deferential PUC
yeah,
greater deference, but again, you're getting into something that in itself requires a fair amount of education. Not that this town isn't, this town is so educated, but if we say
Yeah.
that, what does it, people are going to say, well, what does it mean to have a greater weight? But it does need to be included.
yeah, it's something about gives the town more influence in, statewide energy decisions that affect us, or something. There's a way to
There,
say
you can
it.
write that down. Exactly.
Yeah, I mean, so that's one of the reasons we care about it. That's one of the reasons everybody cares, is because if we had an energy plan, enhanced energy plan, both parties in the Upper Loveland issue would have been in different position. It would have been clearer. We would have been able to say either yes or no. Norwich Solar would have known at the very beginning what they could or couldn't do. The neighbors would have had a tool to work. It would have mattered. And that's really the message we want to give to people. Okay, so if you can get me whatever ideas, bullets and hooks, and I will I'll craft something, and then if you sort of trust me to craft that short thing, then we don't need to get back together to approve it. I can send it. So we assume that maybe 2 weeks from now we do one, which is the committees and the listserv kind of number one, once we know the date. And then a week before the date, we do listserv number 2 or something like that.
Well, let's set the date now so you'll know that you can incorporate it. Because if you're going to start, I'm assuming that you're going to, okay, so today's Tuesday.
Yeah, we can start. I want the Two Rivers person to be able to, we may need some flexibility if they say, oh, I can do the 20th, but not the 27th or something like that.
Oh, right. Good point. Good point.
But I think, so
Uh,
let's just say, you know, we do it after the PC's 13th. And we can kind of announce this at the PC, and then that rolls it into those minutes, which are helpful.
Yeah,
So
And then I would say, you know, at least a
20th,
list.
the 20th or the 27th, you know, that February, that either of those are Tuesdays.
Okay.
Um,
And I would suggest, you know, again, as many posts as you feel appropriate. So that, you know, and maybe as the subject matter, enhanced energy plan,
yeah,
FYI, enhanced energy plan.
enhanced
Uh,
energy plan kickoff meeting next week, you know,
Kickoff,
something
yeah.
that they can skip the whole rest of the message and still get the information that matters.
But I would do several of them.
Enhanced energy
I
plan.
mean, like once a week.
Next week, be there or be square.
Be there, or someone is gonna put a solar panel on your
On
face. You got to be careful because some people
And
have
then we can't do
no-
anything about it. So there.
Some people have no sense of humor about this. You have to be really careful. Just zero. On all different sides of the issue, you will get people who are deadly serious about things.
Well, that was sort of what I was talking about with making sure that we're not overselling things here, because, you know,
Yeah.
people are sensitive.
Yeah. We gotta play it reasonable and be credible and not.
And there's a lot of people our
Totally.
age who are going into this kicking and screaming.
Mm-hmm. So can
Yeah.
we, I'm gonna turn into a pumpkin in not too long a time here.
I was wondering why you were getting orange.
That may also just be, I gotta get a humidifier going. Everything's drowning out here. I'm at 35%. So is that enough? Is that enough for tonight, Chris, or do you wanna?
Yeah, no, I think that's great. So, you want
That
us
is-
to give us till the end of the week, or, you know, the weekend or the week, or do you want it sooner?
Yeah, go through. I'm gonna have to get the minutes out, and that's always the challenge of a Tuesday meeting, is you have to get the minutes out by Thursday for Pam or Friday for Miranda. So I'll get the minutes out. That'll remind us, and then maybe and I'll send a note to Peter Gregory just to get that ball rolling. But then if you can get me your thoughts by the end of the weekend, you know, or
Okay,
first thing next week, then I'll shoot for the end of that week, end of next week to send the first salvo into the public. And then by then I'll know from Two Rivers, say, oh, it's the 20th or it's the 27th, or maybe it's the 21st. Wednesdays, you just got to worry about select board. So, I mean, Tuesdays, we kind of got our stake in the ground. So if we can do either the 20th or the 27th, I think that's a good idea.
all right, sounds great. Linda,
Yeah.
did you have your hand
Yes,
up?
I do. I just want to let you know that it might work well with this, but the Energy Committee has its regular meeting on the 4th Tuesday every month.
That'd be the 27th. Yeah, that would be the 27th. Okay. So let's just I will try for the 20th. I will try to get a Two Rivers resource for Feb 20, and we'll set that as a tentative.
Great. A kickoff.
That's right. Okay. I would with
Minutes.
that, I move approval of the minutes of 12/5.
I have to recuse myself. I wasn't there.
Oh.
Well, so if you second my motion, Chris, then it's automatically done.
Not here. You can't see my hand. I yes, approve.
Okay. Well, then it is officially unanimously approved.
Perfect.
All right.
Okay.
Move to adjourn.
Move to adjourn. Good to see you guys,
Okay,
and,
yeah, good to see
yes,
you.
I will get that stuff off to you.
All right, that's great. Good stuff. Good night, Rob. Good
All
night, Linda.
right, thanks, John. See you,
Night.
Ernie.
See ya.
Good night.